Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Tuscaloosa. I am Ruth Van Lillian, the minister. We are a covenantal community founded on love and a common devotion to our free faith. As we celebrate the burgeoning of spring all around us, let us welcome each other into this sacred virtual space. We especially welcome those visiting with us this morning. We are so glad you found us. We invite you to connect with us in the comments below or on our website and Facebook page. We join with all member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association in affirming and promoting the inherent dignity and worth of every person, and justice, equity, and compassion in all human relations and all systems of society. We bear witness to the pain and suffering of Black, Indigenous, and other persons of color in communities all across this nation, and we continue in our commitment to dismantle systems of oppression in order to build a better world. Black Lives Matter.
Good morning. I'm Anna Schuber, this morning's lay service leader. There is a link to our order of service in a video description below, along with other useful information. Our church website and Facebook page have information about our new online activities. Also, members and friends should read all the Newsnet emails, the weekly e-blasts, and the monthly online newsletter to stay updated on congregational news. The prelude prepares us for the service.
We invite you to light a chalice of your own at home. This might be as simple as a candle in a bowl or something more elaborate that you've purchased or made. We light this chalice as a beacon of our faith and as a reminder of our commitment to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We worship together, though we are at a distance, by celebrating that which is sacred to us individually and collectively.
Our opening words are by T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time.
Break not the circle of enabling love, when people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wander at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with you most spoken, and people keep no score of wrong and guilt, but will their human bonds remain unbroken. Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
This is the time in our service when we share with one another our joys and our sorrows. If you have anything you would like to share and you're watching this live during our Zoom time, you may put your joys and concerns in the chat now. This morning we are celebrating with longtime friend and former member Amanda, who has just graduated from the Star King Divinity School and will be starting her clinical pastoral education this summer as she continues to prepare for ordained ministry. We also celebrate with Deb, who became a great aunt for the second time on May 14th. Let us continue to pray for peace in Palestine and Israel as governments and military leaders struggle and fire at each other. It is the poor, the weak, the helpless who suffer. And let us offer our blessings, our hopes, our most positive energy for our congregational meeting that we hold later today. Let us engage one another in love, in honesty, and go about the business of caring for our congregation as best we can. Let us spend a few moments in silence, and I'll close us with a few words. As mortal creatures whose lives are brief, we often fear endings, and we are uncertain about beginnings. Yet let us find hope that new beginnings bring new opportunities, that endings make way for good things to come. Let us face the day and the week with courage. We are in community. We are together. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be. I'm lighting a final candle for all concerns and celebrations which went unmentioned today. Good morning. I'm so glad that you could be with us today. This is a very special time of year. You are almost to the end of your school year. And I know it's been a strange school year. Some of you have schooled at home. Some of you have schooled at school. Some of you have schooled both home and at school. It's been a very strange year. But it is coming to an end. And when the school year ends, you will be finished with the grade that you've been in. And then you'll have some time in the summer to play and go on vacation and spend time with friends and have free time. And then in August, you'll go back to school. It will be a beginning of the next grade that you go in. And that will be something new that comes after something old ends. Because that is how our life works, a series of endings and beginnings and endings and more beginnings. We are creatures of endings and beginnings. I hope the end of your school year goes well. I hope you have a wonderful summer.
Touch the earth, reach the sky. Children ask the reasons why. In our lives the answer's sure, and by our love they learn and grow.
Out of gratitude for all we have been given and all we have now, we share our resources because we love and trust each other, and because this church enriches our lives and empowers us to make our world better. We rely upon each other, members and friends, and we appreciate the payment of pledges and the generous donations to support the legacy, vision, and work of this church community. Contributions may be made by credit card, by using the link below, or by mailing checks to UUCT. All non-pledged contributions will be divided between our Split the Plate recipient organization and our congregation.
When one door closes, another door opens. But we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open for us. Alexander Graham Bell. Liam spoke no distinguishable words yet, but my firstborn would grab his favorite book, Bert and Ernie Go Camping, and reach up to be set into my lap while I read it to him for the 100th time. It was one of those cardboard books with holes that would peek over to the next page, showing one kind of picture, but when you turned the page, the picture looked different. Liam was fascinated with it at 14 months, and he could not get enough. Every time we came to the last page and I said, "The end," he would burst into tears. The only way to comfort him was to start the book over again. You see the problem. I even quit saying the hated words, "the end," but it didn't help. He still wept bitterly every time we got to the last page. Now, my 20-year-old might still be crying on my lap if I hadn't accidentally dropped that book behind the sofa one day when he wasn't looking, all those years ago. Truthfully, from early on, most of us are not comfortable with endings. If it's a good story with a happy ending, like Bert and Ernie's camping trip, we feel a sense of loss when it ends. If the ending is tragic, we feel betrayed that there's no way to fix the tragedy. If it's mysterious, we feel unsettled and deprived of closure. We really don't like endings. We want to believe we can keep a good thing going forever, or at least come back to it when we choose and it will still be there. Endings are painful. Consider a long, sustained musical note. Well, my breath support is not what it used to be. Imagine Julie Andrews in Victor Victoria when she holds that note and the goblet shatters. Or Louis Armstrong, old Satchmo, blasting out a long trumpet note. Or Carol Burnett belting out her Tarzan yell. Imagine the note in your mind. It seems to go on forever, focused like a laser in your ear, in your brain. It is fascinating, compelling, almost painful. And when it seems you cannot stand it any longer, it's gone. Silence. Where did it go? Where did the music, the note, the sound go? We have been taught, perhaps some of us actually teach, the scientific concept of sound as vibration. Sound requires a source and amplifier and a receiver and interpreter. In the case of human singing, the musical note begins as an idea in the brain, which is made actual in the contractions of the vocal folds of the larynx, combined with a silent inhalation by the lungs, followed by a forceful exhalation through the larynx, and with the proper shape of the muscles and tissues of the mouth and the tongue, the singer produces the note. That's the sound and amplifier. But it is incomplete without a receiver to pick up the vibrations of sound from the air, and then a mechanism to interpret those vibrations. The ear is a receiver. The vibrations enter the ear canal and bump against the eardrum, which vibrates, and the vibrations move along the tiny bones and through the fluids of the inner ear until the nerves send the signals to the brain, which interprets them. There is our receiver and interpreter. Over time, our brain learns to discern between Julie Andrews and Louis Armstrong. But where does the sound go? When the source stops sending the vibrations, where do they go? One answer is that they continue to travel through space, but they get weaker as they travel until they are no longer perceptible. In the case of sounds humans produce and hear, it happens so fast the sound seems to cut off almost immediately. Unless we happen to be in a cathedral or in the mountains where the sound may bounce around a while, producing echoes. I am told there are telescopes which are designed to examine deep space by listening to the sounds traveling through it. Apparently, there's a lot of noise in space. If you have the access to the right equipment, you can receive and interpret it. But here on earth, in our daily experience, once stopped, the sound seems to be gone. The song is over. The concert has ended. What remains is in our memory. The song that moved us to tears, the joke that had us in stitches, the story that touched our hearts. Stored in my memory are such precious things as friends' laughter from a late-night dorm party, the last loving words my mother spoke to me, my husband's clumsy, impulsive, beautiful marriage proposal, Liam's toddler giggle the first time Angus called me Mama when we thought he would never speak. There are no recordings of these sounds. They remain solely inside me. The places they happened are no longer a part of my life, but the power they hold for me, as you can see, the nourishment they still give my soul are mine, as long as I live and have the capacity to recall them. The late UU minister and theologian, Reverend Forrest Church, defines religion as our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. We human beings are, as far as we know, the only creatures on the planet with a sense of our own finitude. Most of us come to understand at some point in our mental and emotional development that we are time travelers moving in only one direction, forward in time, at 1 second per second. And because our bodies age, one day those bodies will either wear out or become damaged beyond repair and cease functioning. The flesh computer that is our brain will shut down and no longer hold our thoughts, our self-awareness, our mind. What happens to the human self when the brain shuts down? We don't know. Perhaps like the sound vibrations or light waves, the self dissipates out into the cosmos. We do not have the equipment to discern any further vibrations of the self after it leaves the body that it has been housed in. The loss of selves who have been dear to us is terribly jarring and painful. The realization that our own selves will, for each of us, one day also be lost or scattered or beyond detection sits uncomfortably with us, usually pushed back, way back in the corner of the mind, ignored as long as possible. In Catholic high school, I was introduced to Ash Wednesday, which is the first day of the season of Lent, a time for self-reflection and penance. With only an adolescent's understanding of what it meant, I was fascinated with the ritual of kneeling before the priest while he rubbed ashes made from the burned leaves from the previous year's Palm Sunday celebration on my forehead and said these words, "Remember that thou art dust, and to dust thou shalt return." Years later, as both Methodist minister and closeted pagan priestess, I performed the same ritual numerous times, marking foreheads and speaking the words to remind each supplicant of their short time on the planet. These are the big endings we humans struggle with: time, transience, and mortality. We often strive to hold on to precious things, and we place great value on stuff that lasts a long time: jewelry, artwork, buildings. We imagine that such clinging can prevent the ending from happening. We develop technologies to capture sound recordings and visual images of the things we want to hold on to. Like most parents, I have photos of my children and videos, all reminding me of the babies, the toddlers, the little boys that they were. Those little boys are gone now, replaced with young men a bit larger, hairier, and smellier than their predecessors. No matter how often I look at those dear images, I cannot hold my babies ever again. I have gotten old enough now to realize that a great many performers I grew up listening to on television and in the movies and in concerts are dead. We can watch recordings of movies over 100 years old in which every single actor is long gone. But for a few moments, they seem to be alive again. We hold on to mementos, trinkets, letters, pictures, clothing, furniture, all in an effort to restrain the forward momentum of time. Variations on the theme of time travel have become ubiquitous in the literature and art of our culture. We can physically only travel forward, but we can look back, glimpse the past for good and ill, and remember the things that were part of our lives. As a professional metaphysician, I am fascinated by the relationship between measurable reality and the spiritual. This makes me an excellent Unitarian Universalist. I take my limited understanding of scientific phenomena and set them against religious concepts and spiritual philosophies seeking connections and enlightenment. So if the true scientists in the congregation will indulge me, I'd like to mention the laws of conservation of matter and energy, which state in essence that neither matter nor energy can be destroyed, only transformed. Now, the universe is a very large system in which to apply such laws, but from a metaphysical perspective, I take it to mean that we, as creatures made of matter and energy, are eternal in some sense. The matter and energy of which we are comprised does and will change over time. Matter changing to energy, energy to matter as we live our lives, and one day all matter will convert to energy. And then, well, who knows where that energy will go. Another phenomenon of the universe which interests me is the cycle of endings and beginnings of the lives of stars. There are others far more qualified than I to lecture on this topic. I just want to mention that stars all begin as gas clouds. and all end as either supernova explosions or white dwarfs which shed lots of material, including gases. Eventually, some of those gases can come together in new clouds to form new baby stars. Here are endings leading to beginnings on a massive scale over exceedingly long periods of time. For us who lead such brief lives, such beginnings and endings are hard to take in. The enormous flash of light from a star gone supernova is still traveling to Earth millions of years after the star came to its dramatic end. In fact, as I understand it, when we look up in the night sky, much of what we see is no longer actually there. Some stars have moved, others have exploded or imploded, and of course, our solar system and galaxy are also moving. It becomes tricky to figure out what is really there, what has ended, and what might be beginning. Endings can be difficult, but they make room for beginnings. Life is always in flux. Graduations make room for new students. Moving away opens housing for new residents. Retirement opens new job opportunities for younger workers. Baby teeth make room for adult teeth. Now, curiously, I recently lost a tooth. That's not a particularly glamorous confession, but it is remarkable because it was a baby tooth. The second molar, bottom right, which came in before I was 3 years old. And it was genetically designed to fall out when I was around 11, but it didn't, because I am congenitally missing the permanent tooth that should have grown beneath it. So my baby tooth lasted and served me quite well until I was 53. Essentially, I got 50 extra years out of that little tooth. What a bargain! Of course, most baby teeth must fall out to make way for adult teeth moving in. I have a friend who has a child whose permanent teeth are growing in next to the baby teeth, and they're going to have the dentist pull the baby teeth out of the way. It would be naive to claim that all endings lead straight to beginnings without loss or pain or sadness. Time and gravity are certainly against us, wearing our bodies down no matter how hard we fight. Many things end, and much cannot be recovered. But if trees never die in the forest, there is no room for new growth. If things never end, then things cannot begin. Endings are part of life. And life is continually renewed with fresh beginnings. It is the order of things. We are not served well individually or collectively by trying to keep everything the same for always. Life brings change, endings and beginnings, and if we don't change also, we will miss new opportunities for discovery and growth. We are daily faced with small decisions about endings and beginnings, and occasionally we are required to make really big decisions. No matter what we decide, things will change. No matter what we do, there will be consequences to face and a path to be traveled. Sometimes we must take risks and travel uncharted waters. There are no guarantees. All we can do is make the best decision we can with the best information we have, and when done in a group, try to love one another through the process, even when we disagree, and to respect the outcome. We don't like endings, and sometimes beginnings can look scary too. But to be alive is to be ever-changing and to adapt to those changes. Let us seek life, abundant, variable, mysterious. Take courage, friends. There are endings before us, and also new beginnings just around the corner. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
Please read the words that are shown at the bottom of your screen. As we extinguish this chalice flame, let us remember that we carry the light within ourselves, which brings healing to a broken world and hope for the days ahead.
Friends, kindred, let us go forth with courage and hope to face endings and welcome beginnings. Let us go in peace. Amen.